Speaking of life and good stuff, we've said a lot of scary stuff today, but the world is a scary place, and mainly because governments and crazy people want to have an endless war. Scott, I want to know in the last little segment here, what are you hopeful about, and what do you see for the future that makes you not horrified?
Well, the thing of it is, to me, is that the reason that I'm interested in this kind of thing and I like talking about it all the time is because I'm convinced that it doesn't have to be this way. It's sort of a communist premise that there's this determined history. It's all written in the commie book about the future, how everybody's supposed to be like they think or whatever it is. But I really don't believe in that. I really think that if people push hard for liberty, then they can have liberty in their era. If not, they won't have it. And times change, and in the history of civilizations, there are lots of ups and downs. But right now, as silly as it sounds, to put it this way, I think really we are living in the golden age of mankind right now. I mean, even percentage-wise, there's 7 billion and change people on the planet right now. And percentage-wise, there's never been this kind of standard of living for the average nobody, ever. I mean, there are peasants who are becoming middle class everywhere in the world, and it's because of the spread of capitalism. And in some ways, it's even a side effect, a little bit, of America's imperial foreign policy. Because some of what the IMF and the World Bank criminals demand when they go in to exploit these third world countries is that they adopt a little bit of our program. And a lot of times that includes some basic property rights protections and taxes that, they're low enough for our multinational corporations or whatever, but they also become lower than for the people of those countries too. And they have real growth. And right now, world hunger and percentage-wise too, and world poverty percentage-wise too, are at all-time lows. And, Buckminster Fuller used to say that if all the politicians in the world would just go away and let, real free exchange take place throughout the world and let free people invent the distribution channels necessary to get everything to everyone who needs it, we could do it. And the whole world, we could all live like billionaires. And that sounds a little bit utopian, except that we're not talking about some central program by some genius who happens to agree with us about the way things should be. We're talking about individual sovereignty to the greatest extent possible, secession to the last man, and the ultimate in anti-government extremism. What we need is liberty, and the rest really will work itself out. And so what that means in terms of politics is oppose everything. It's time for people to stop being the demand for our government supply. They're going to use any excuse they can. The last thing we need to do is give them some more. When they say that we need them or else all these bad things are going to happen, at the very least we can start with not believing them and forcing them to make a very convincing case before we go ahead and do one more thing. And I think people really are catching on. Part of it is partisanship. But, we had a horrible massacre in a school a year ago. And, of course, everyone on the left who tried to take advantage of that, who thought that they might be able to take more guns away, they jumped on that bandwagon as fast as they could. But it wasn't just their hardcore political opponents. It was just regular people around the country, regular gun owners and non-gun owners alike, said, you know what? Just because something horrible happened doesn't mean you get to exploit it for your agenda. Back off. And by and large, the gun controllers lost over the last year, as well they should have. And, Barack Obama tried to get us into a war with Syria, which the leaders of the Republican Party wanted too. John McCain and all the rest of them wanted it too, wanted it even more than him. And the American people told him no. And the reason they called off the vote in the Senate and the House was because they weren't going to be able to pass it.
Thanks a lot, Scott.